Feel free to chat with me. Come on and talk to me. I really wanna know what you think. I wanna hear your truth. I wanna see what you see. Come on and talk to me. The girl lovely tea in these podcast streets. I wanna hear your truth. I wanna see what you see. Come on and talk to me. The girl lovely tea in these podcast streets.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to Lovely Tea, Lovely News Radio, okay? So I'm really glad people are enjoying the radio show. I thank you guys for coming in bright and early. I told y'all we're going to start at 9. We are on time. I've been up since about 6 a.m. just gathering the information for the show, everything I want to talk about. So it's a lot to get into. And once again, happy Friday. I know some of y'all are on y'all's way to work or getting off work, things like that. But it is a lot of news that has happened in the past 48 hours, and I want to keep y'all abreast of everything, okay? So let me go ahead and read this super chat really quick. Shout out to Mandarins9194. She sent a $5 super chat. She says, happy Friday, everyone. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. I can't wait to hear from T. Loving these lives. Lexi, thank you so much for the $19.99 super chat. Lexi2520. I appreciate you, sis. So I want to talk about what went on. In case you guys have missed it, y'all shouldn't have missed it because we posted it online. But if you guys do not know, there was a huge flooding event that happened in Nepal, in the Nepal-Tibet area. And they're saying that some people are saying that China caused it. I don't know. I'm not here to spread no rumors. But what we do know is that the death toll has climbed to the hundreds. They're saying about 1,000 people are currently missing across the affected area. It was so scary watching those videos because it almost looked like a movie. Like it legit almost looked fake to me. So it was like really like scary just watching that and just seeing people running for their lives. Just makes you very grateful, to just see another day. These are folks who went to work at the factory. These are folks who were just, going by their day. And they did not expect a massive flood of water to come. Yeah, it was literally, people are saying that it's a flash flood. But I agree with you, Harlem Quinn. That was a tsunami. That was a dirty, muddy, watery tsunami. The way that water came out of nowhere. They said a dam broke or something like that. It just broke bridges. I'll show y'all some video in a minute, but it was very, very scary to watch. And whenever we have a disaster of like this magnitude, you want to just think about the people affected and how those numbers can change, literally by the hour. I know initially they were saying like only 30 people were missing. I'm like, hell no. It's going to be way more than that. And I think by the time everything is said and done, there's going to be a lot more people who have passed away as well, due to drowning and other things like that. I mean, to watch buildings of people, there was one, like, it was like some type of building factory. You could see people in the window and the water was just steadily just, hitting where the building was at. And literally 20 seconds later, the entire building just went into the water. It was just so scary to watch. It really looked like an end of the world movie. And so right now, that entire village area is going through it. The roads are gone. Bridges have been destroyed. Buildings swept away. So the rescuers are now, trying to search through all that enormous debris. And it's hard because so many parts of the world right now are going through it. Even, I believe, Algeria or Morocco in northern Africa, they got hit with a bunch of fire yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw that. But it was a lot of fire, people were running around. So it's a lot of natural disasters happening, not just in America, but globally. So it's almost like there's only so much help people can send because every country is dealing with their own, unfortunate circumstances right now. So it's really sad. I want to go ahead and play you guys some of the news clips and the videos. You can see some of the video here on the BBC. So give me just a second to pull that up here.
Been swept away in northern Nepal with mudslides in neighbouring Tibet.
This is a remote area, hard to reach. You're fighting against the terrain and the weather conditions.
They were talking about hearing a roaring sound. Within seconds, they saw tons of water gushing through the mountains.
Officials are anticipating this as one of the worst disasters since the 2015 earthquake.
It's a race to save lives right now.
More than 500 people are missing, including tourists from 28 different countries. And officials are bracing for large numbers of fatalities. We'll bring you up to date on what we know about the flash flooding in Nepal and Tibet, but I want to first show you the scale of the incident. And a warning, you may find some of these pictures distressing. This is CCTV footage that shows the moment people attempted to flee just seconds before this massive mudslide engulfed the border crossing between Nepal and China. The clip has been edited. You will see that we've added a white flash due to the distressing content. You will see that people are running and then completely swept away. Here's more CCTV footage from the same border crossing. A massive wall of mud and water hits the site as those people flee. Well, let's bring in our global affairs reporter, Ambarasan Itharajan. Talk us through then what has unfolded.
This morning, all of a sudden, people heard a ferocious sound and soon they saw huge waves of water, boulder and mud slamming through the mountain valleys, sweeping away whatever was on its way, destroying houses, power stations, offices, whatever, bridges, and also several office blocks were taken away by this ferocious water. We still don't know how many people have died, how many people are still missing. Even though the government is giving their estimates, the figures are changing, but it is one of the worst disasters Nepal has faced in recent decades.
Well, colleagues from the BBC's Nepali service have been speaking to people who witnessed the floods in one of the worst hit areas. Here's what they told us.
My family members were swept away by the flood in front of my eyes. My father, my mother, sister and her kids are all swept away. They could not escape the flood. There was no chance at all.
Me and my mother were together while trying to escape. I saved my mother by pulling her hand. Before that, I had given my phone to my sister to remain safe and contact for help. But she is not reachable now. The mobile is switched off. I'm worried she must be swept away.
So what more do we know about how the disaster unfolded? It's something our global environment correspondent, Navin Singh Khadka, has been looking into.
So this is the Pan-Himalayan region in Tibet as well as in Nepal, all these towering peaks. Scientists have been warning us that because of climate crisis, these mountains are losing ice fields, glaciers, and because of that, what happens is all these melting, they come down as water floods and so on and so forth. The rivers and rivulets are the medium to bring down all those boulders, all those sediment. And what happened in this particular case is something they're trying to find out. There's not a definitive answer yet, but what my sources are telling is there might have been a case of a big ice chunk that got destabilized, collapsed, and when it came down, the friction with the rocks generated massive volume of water, got down to the river, blocked the river for some time, and then the river, it burst out, and that's why there was this massive flood downstream.
Yeah, the wall of water has smashed through.
I mean, it's frightening just watching it, and even the way he's describing it, that it might have came from an ice cap that fell into the water. It's almost like just Bible prophecy being fulfilled. Like a lot of this stuff seems like things that are being said in the Bible. And there's a new poll I just placed in the Discord. Do you feel like a lot of these disasters that we're going to talk about, and your mind might change as we go through the show, do you feel like a lot of them are caused by man-made issues or natural? And like I said, your opinion can change as we go through these stories, but this is just really frightening what is going on with this flood. We're going to continue watching the rest.
Through buildings, and the authorities are confronting the scale of damage to critical infrastructure. Here's Panindra Dahal from BBC Nepali.
Officials are anticipating this as one of the worst disasters since the 2015 earthquake. Critical infrastructures like hydropower stations have been washed away, drinking water supply, road supply, they have all seen severe damages. Officials are now racing against time on how to manage the flood-affected victims. The government has said it will provide temporary accommodation, food and drinking water, among others.
Among those missing are hundreds of people from Nepal, Tibet and other places, including at least 100 from India, 47 from the United States, 33 from the United Kingdom, 17 from Malaysia and 4 from South Africa. Now, South Asia correspondent Azadeh Moshiri explains how difficult it will be rescuing those trapped in the floods.
This is a complicated rescue operation. That flash flood and mudslide has torn through villages, swept away bridges, and it's happened in a remote area. Rasua is in the northern part of Nepal. It's north of the capital Kathmandu, and it's near the border with Tibet. And so it's difficult to get emergency teams in. So far, more than a dozen helicopters have been deployed, including military helicopters, but they're fighting not only against some of the terrain, but also the winds in that area as well. And on top of that, districts downstream are being warned to stay on high alert, not only in Nepal, but also here in India.
August is peak season for both trekkers and Hindu pilgrims heading to the glacial lakes in this part of Nepal. Paninder Dahal in Kathmandu has more on why so many tourists may have been in the area where the flooding occurred.
It is one of the main routes that connects to Mansarovar, a popular tourist site in Tibet, and hundreds of people in this season choose this route to go to Tibet. And now another sacred Hindu festival of Janai Purnima was also approaching. Many local pilgrims also were traveling to Gosai Kunda, one of the popular destinations. And it is also expected that some of the Indians or other Nepali nationals who were in the routes as religious pilgrims are among those missing.
The BBC's Ambarasa Nithirajan is still with us.
So I find that very interesting that there was also pilgrimage going on. And that was one of the things that's being talked about on social media. There's an older, I want to say he's Indian, because I've seen him on Instagram before. And he does like a lot of, spiritual talk and stuff like that. And so this morning he was on Instagram crying and praying for like all the tourists. So like all the Americans, the British people, basically all the folks who were coming to see him. And so people were dragging him. And I'm like, dang, why is he getting drugged? But people were saying you're only crying because these people only put a down payment for your spiritual guidance and they're not able to pay the other half. That's the reason why you're crying. So a lot of people were like going in on him in the comment section. So there was a lot of foreigners there. Like they were saying, this is around the time that a lot of people do like a pilgrimage out there to get like, spiritual blessings and things like that. So I do find it very interesting that this happened around this time. People are making really good comments in the chat. Somebody is saying that Gaia is not pleased. We've done too much with just, wasting of natural resources, logging in the Amazon, and we're causing a lot of global effects in industrialization, which I agree. I think it's a combination of a lot of things that are going on. And to see so much stuff going on globally, like I said, is insane. It's like, I swear, every country's going through something right now. So we're going to go ahead and segue into what is going on currently where we're at. We're in the U.S. And so it is a lot going on if you guys have not heard. So not only did we have this whole flooding situation or tsunami situation in Nepal, but on the East Coast, like the Northeast area, they are being plummeted with rain and they're having their own flooding. So if you're like in areas of New York, I believe specifically Queens and other boroughs, in New Jersey, they've been dealing with a lot of flash flooding, people losing their cars. And then you guys know there's a lot of basement dwelling people in New York. So a lot of their homes are just literally destroyed. People are having to fight with insurance to try and get any type of coverage. Insurance is saying that they're not covering this. So it is a lot going on right now on the East Coast. You're basically going to see streets being turned into rivers. And this is happening more and more. I mean, we've been seeing more and more flooding on the East Coast over the past 5 years. but it seems to be worse, and they're having it multiple times. There's an interview with this lady. Her home was flooded, I want to say maybe a few weeks ago, and then it was flooded again. And the first time insurance said they would pay, second time they said no. But it's the same situation. So what makes the first time different from the second time? So it is really sad. A lot of vehicles are completely stalled. People are trying to unclog storm drains. But like I said, the history of especially like the New York City area is that it was built on trash. Like literally, it was built on trash. And that trash that it was built on is steadily sinking every year. Just like down in Florida, you know, the Everglades, I've talked about that in the past, how a lot of Florida is sinking, and a lot of these cities will not be here in the next 20 years just because of global warming, the rising of water, you know what I'm saying, because of the polar ice caps melting and things like that. So it is really sad what's going on right now in New Jersey. So I'm going to go ahead and play you guys some of these clips that are coming from the Northeast.
Storm alerts into the Northeast at this hour. Dangerous thunderstorms, flash flooding, and winds gusting up to 70 miles per hour from Washington, D.C. to Philadelphia to New York City. ABC's Matt Rivers with the images coming in.
Tonight, cars submerged in the Northeast. 40 million Americans from Virginia to Vermont facing flooding downpours. Streets swamped in a matter of minutes on New York's Staten Island. Just outside New York City, cars forced to pull over and wait it out on the Garden.
Think about how many states. They said from New York to Vermont, New Jersey. I mean, literally the whole Northeast is dealing with like just this strange weather phenomenon of constantly getting rain and flooding over and over again.
Garden State Parkway. Traffic cones floating downstream in Princeton. Hail pummeling South Jersey. The population centers of the I-95 corridor under threat once again, exactly a week after another storm system overwhelmed New York City's subway system, swamped drivers, and spawned multiple confirmed tornadoes. Overnight, more violent summer storms near Dallas, Texas. A terrifying downburst in North Richland Hills brought intense straight-line winds that did major damage to businesses and knocked out power to thousands.
You never know what Mother Nature has in store for you.
And with all this bad weather wreaking havoc at airports across the Northeast, as of right now, nationwide, more than 950 flights canceled, nearly 7,000 flights delayed.
And it's not over yet. Matt Rivers, thanks. Let's get right to ABC's senior meteorologist Lee Goldberg. Lee, that flood threat in the Northeast continues tonight.
Yeah, we were under flash flood warnings here in New York City for much of the afternoon. The Northeast has been slammed. There's a tornado warning in the Catskills of New York right now. So we've had pea-sized hail, gusts to 70 miles an hour. The severe thunderstorm watch stretches from D.C. all the way to upstate New York into the evening hours. The rainfall rates 1 to 2 inches an hour from Philly to New York. More so in Philly, though. Some areas could see up to 5 inches of rain. We've seen that in parts of New Jersey. A flood watch goes into tonight. It's the exact opposite in the Southwest. Hot and dry. Another day of extreme heat warnings. Phoenix could go to 111 tomorrow. Finally, some relief on the way this weekend. And then it's Tropical Storm Dolly, named earlier this morning, not named for the beloved Dolly Parton this week. However, in her spirit, it won't.
Now, isn't that interesting? We have a Tropical Storm Dolly coming in, and he's saying, oh, it's not after Dolly Parton. But that's not missed on me. Even the meteorologist who was talking the first time, his last name was Rivers. And we're dealing with like rivers of flooding. So I find that interesting as well.
Won't cause much damage as it weakens shortly and could actually bring some beneficial rains to Puerto Rico and parts of the Caribbean. Whit?
Okay, we'll take that. Lee Goldberg, we appreciate it.
So let me go ahead and play this next video here of the flooding going on in Queens.
Up and overflows onto the street like a geyser.
69 goes up, Laurel Hill comes down, so everything pools here.
A previous storm took out her garage wall.
You came out and saw this. What did you think?
I thought that's over. I thought we were gone.
Now she's waiting to see what this storm will bring.
The only thing that they can't replace is all my photos. Everything that we had left from my parents and my sister is all gone.
The worst part, she says, after her insurance sent her a check following the first flood this year, they refused to cover any damages from the next or the one after that.
I already got paid for it once. They're not going to pay again.
How do you feel about that?
Horrible. I've been paying how many years that I haven't used the insurance. Now that I need it, I can't get it. So that money that I've been putting in all these years, I can't claim it.
I mean, at this point in time, there has to be something done about these insurance companies. Like, insurance at this point is such a scam. You know, I've had to go through my own issues with trying to get insurance on a pipe that had busted, and how I had to fight almost 3 months for them to approve it. I had to be on their heads going off. And I have never used my insurance before. This is the first time in 20 years I've ever filed an insurance claim. But let you not pay them every quarter. They already put your house up in foreclosure. And it's like that money that we pay to insurance, I'd rather pay myself and put that in a high yield interest rate. You know what I'm saying? So I can get money off of it. Then in the event some shit like this happens, I have the money to fix it myself. The fact that they cut this lady one check and they're refusing to cut any more, even though it's the same circumstances, is ridiculous. And, you know, the insurance companies are getting rich. They've taken themselves out of places like California, Florida, because of all the hurricanes and the fires. But then guess what happens? The rest of the country has our insurance rates go up to cover what they're not billing in Cali and in Florida. And then when you need to file a claim, they play stupid. So at this point, there needs to be some lobbying. Like, I'm tired of all these insurance companies. From State Farm to Geico. They all need to kick rocks.
Well, the New York City Department of Environmental Protection says it's budgeted to spend $1 billion a year for the next decade on storm management projects. That includes sewer upgrades, which they say will help reduce flooding inland like they see here. We're live in Woodside, Queens. Allie Bauman, CBS News, New York.
All right, Allie, thank you.
We're already seeing drivers trapped in floodwaters in some parts of New Jersey.
That's right. Let's get back out to Elizabeth, where Andrew Ramos is live in our First Alert weather tracker. Andrew, is it any better now?
Well, Dick and Alice, I will say we do have somewhat good news to report this half hour, because the rain has tapered off significantly, and the water we're seeing, the flooded waters, starting to recede at this hour. Now, we're here at the intersection near Spring Street, where residents are assessing the current situation that has happened. I've really unfolded on their block. It's been a dramatic afternoon here in Elizabeth. You can see emergency responders, first responders here at the scene right now. They appear to be responding to some situation that's happening at the end of the block. We're going to go do a further investigate what is going on. It seems to be a water rescue, but we are not quite sure just yet. Now, the water here has been waist high deep, at least for the past hour or so. Now, from a distance, it does look manageable, but the water is very deceiving, as many drivers have discovered, as some of them attempted to make their way down North Avenue, like these guys who we saw earlier do their best to try to get their car out of the water after they got stuck, but no such luck. Now, amid the messy situation, we also found some kids making the best of it, jumping in, even front flipping into the water. Now, officials here in Elizabeth are urging residents to either stay home, or if they're at work, to stay put. The message is to basically stay off the roads until the water starts to recede. Now, we have seen already multiple cars get stuck in the water. The Elizabeth the Police Department issued a notice earlier saying, if you do find yourself stuck in these high waters, do not call 911 unless it's an emergency situation. They're just advising you to just wait until the water recedes, and then they will be able to go and help you. But that's the latest from here in.
So did y'all peep that? They're already telling folks, do not call 911. Basically, once again, nobody's coming to save you. Y'all have to figure it out. Y'all got to do y'all. Do not call 911. So that says it loud and clear that they're not coming to save people. Let me go ahead and read some of these super chats here. Tiniest little Kiwi sent $10. Says T, New Jersey was flooded yesterday. Bad. Every other week we get rainstorms, flash flooding in New Jersey. Just a few blocks from me flooded really bad. Thunderstorms too. My lights were flickering. I'm in Union County, New Jersey. And I also heard you say in the chat that was your neighborhood that they were reporting on as well. So that is really sad. I'm really sorry that you're going through that. Hopefully, you know, everything will dry up soon enough, but I can only imagine how scary that is. And it's been happening back to back to back on the East Coast. Let me go ahead and read this super chat. $20 from Lala Sanders. Hey, sis. She says, my heart smiled when I heard the intro song. I'm a member and a mod on your main channel, but I'll be joining here too. Prayers to everyone affected by these disasters. Discord gang. Thank you so much, Lala. I appreciate that. Let me go ahead. If I can find you in here, I'll make you a mod. If you type something, I'll be able to get you, make you a mod over here as well. And let me go ahead and also shout out Mucha Dinera 2308. I know y'all hear that gavel, honey. She sent a big super chat of $99.99. Thank you so much, sis. She says, hey, T, sending you love, congrats, condolences, blessings, and prayers. God is preparing his warriors. The last 2 years have been horrible, but this one has been abysmal. I'm honestly scared, but I know God got me, mine, you, and us. Love you, big sis and T-sippers. Thank you so much. And yeah, 2026 was definitely, I can't lie, this is probably one of like the worst years I've been through in a long time, But again, all we can do is hope that this too will pass and that we'll make it out of this okay, like we all did. We all hung in there and we hung close to each other during 2020, and we made it out of there, by the skin of our teeth. But it's just hard because it's like every other day it's something. So it just makes me really feel like what does 2027 have in store for all of us? So that's going to be really interesting to see. Palm Trees and Bees sent $10. They said they are trying to bankrupt the country, starting with the citizens. It's about to get real bumpy, y'all. Hold on to your gold jury. Yeah, they definitely got some things in the mix. Trust and believe. They definitely do. So what else I want to talk about here as well, if you guys do not know, because I found this very strange. So 8 days ago, I was keeping up with this on August 19th. A fuel tanker. Now, y'all know we're struggling with the fuel. We're running out of fuel here in America. We really have no incoming fuel because everything going on with the war in the Strait of Hormuz. And so 8 days ago, a fuel tanker turned over on Rockaway Boulevard in Queens. And the tanker had approximately 8,500 gallons of gasoline. And thousands of gallons were reportedly just spilled all over the freeway. The firefighters had to put down foam to try and, absorb the gasoline and the vapors because they were scared it was going to cause an enormous fire. So I want to show y'all this video from 8 days ago of the gasoline situation in case you guys missed this. Because, surprise, surprise, it happened again. So, pull this up here. So, this was 8 days ago.
An overturned gasoline tanker spilled thousands of gallons of fuel.
Chopper 2 flying over the scene in Queens earlier today, where firefighters were blanketing the truck and the road with foam. Officials say the tanker was carrying 8,500 gallons of gas when a compartment ruptured. The FDNY says the tanker overturned near Meyer Avenue and Rockaway Boulevard near JFK Airport just after 11 o'clock this morning.
Jennifer Bisram live at the scene for us, where crews are still cleaning up the mess tonight. Jen?
Hi there, Jess and KJ. You mentioned this tanker truck overturned around 11:30 this morning, and if you take a look behind me here, you can see a massive scene here still at this hour, and you can see that truck is still here on its side, surrounded by foam where that fuel spilled. Now, there has been a large presence here all day. Multiple streets, this entire parkway from Queens to Brooklyn closed, specifically Rockaway Turnpike from Peninsula Boulevard to Nassau County in Brookville Boulevard. Now, the good news in all of this is that no one was hurt. Surveillance video shows the moment a tanker truck flipped over as it turned onto Rockaway Turnpike in Meadowmere Park on Long Island near the Queens border Wednesday morning.
Tell me that don't look like it's on purpose. Who the hell hits corners like that as you're driving a fuel truck? You're not even supposed to hit a corner like that in a regular SUV. He's hitting corners like he's in a lowrider. Like, what are we doing, sir? So when I seen that kind of, I don't know, it looks sus to me. But we're going to continue.
The building shook, a thud, and then one of the colleagues got up and looked outside and saw an overturned tank.
Where my seat is just pillars underneath, so like the whole thing shook more than normal.
According to the Nassau County Fire Marshal's office, the 12,400-gallon tanker was loaded with about 8,500 gallons of gasoline. 2,000 spilled onto the street and into storm drains and the waterways of Jamaica Bay.
It's very warm today, so we're going to be switching a lot of
firefighters in and out. Thankfully, that blanket of foam that you see every 25 minutes, a new blanket of foam being put down, is keeping the vapor and everything else contained so we don't have any fire and we don't have any further problems.
Hazmat teams have been applying foam operations and metering nearby buildings for flammable levels. The State Department of Environmental Conservation and the U.S. Coast Guard are monitoring the runoff and contamination. We're told the driver was able to get out of the truck safely and was not hurt.
He was coming out from getting gasoline, then he went to take the turn, and then I don't know if he took the pothole that is there, it just went sideways and just flipped. That's it. I started yelling. Panicking.
People who work in nearby offices and businesses have been asked to shelter in place.
It is crazy because anyone could have been walking on the sidewalk or, and you could have been caught up. Yeah, just lose your life just like that.
Thank God everybody's safe.
Another live look at the scene.
All right, so y'all see that, right? So what I find very interesting, because like I said, this was viral 8 days ago. And so this morning, as I'm, putting everything together for the news stories, it happened again. Like I said earlier, surprise, surprise. But this time it took place in Atlanta. Okay, another tanker carrying fuel overturns in DeKalb County. And I believe they spilled, 7,500 gallons of diesel fuel. So again, another tanker happened to roll over 8 days after that one in Queens. So we're going to go ahead and watch this newscast. That's why I said it's hard for me to believe in all these random coincidences. Something is not right at all. Hold on. Okay, there we go. So we're going to go ahead and watch this real quick.
This morning in DeKalb County, where an overturned tanker leaking fuel on Browns Mill Road. Good days, Kim Leffler is live there from the scene. You've been there throughout the morning, Kim. Walk us through what you're able to see. We see that truck over your shoulder.
Yeah, good morning. This is the spot where that truck overturned sometime overnight. Now, this is what I have learned from the DeKalb County Fire Department. There's 7,500 gallons of diesel fuel that truck was carrying. The fire department called hazmat personnel to assist. Their biggest concern right now is runoff running into the storm drains and Browns Mill Lake here. But right now, they don't know exactly how much has leaked out or how much has gotten into the lake or the storm drains as well. We know the EPA has also been called out to assist. Luckily, though, there were no injuries as a result of this fuel tank overturning. We also don't know right now what caused the crash, but officials did contact both Rockdale and DeKalb County schools about possible delays because the road here is closed. I asked how long they expect for the road to be closed, and they say that this is an extended operation, so they don't know exactly how long this closure will be in place. Of course, we're going to be here throughout the morning, and we'll keep you updated. For now, live in DeKalb County, Kim Leffler for Good Day Atlanta.
Yeah, I know there are concerns about a nearby body of water. We'll keep an eye out throughout the morning, Kim. Thanks so much. A surgeon.
All right, so you guys just saw that. Oh, give me a second. Okay, it had disconnected me, but I'm back on. So, again, I'm sorry, but I'm not buying it that, all of a sudden now a second tanker just happened to roll over. I just find that very, very suspicious, in my personal opinion. And it looks like a lot of y'all are agreeing that it just doesn't seem right. Somebody also said that Foxtrot 685 said, listen, these truckers drive on the highway like they're whipping an Accord or a Civic, just weaving in and out of traffic, hauling ass. What the hell? Mucho Dinero says those damn truckers be hauling ass down the road. And maybe that's part of them being under stress, that they have to make time and get there at a certain time. But nothing is worth risking your life and risking the lives of other people, because when that oil spills, granted, the one in New York, they had foam to try and soak it up, but this one looks like it was more in a residential area. So where's all that runoff going into? They're talking about lakes. You're talking about people's grass. it can kill the plants. It can kill, people have gardens. So that's really frightening that 2 of them have overturned that quickly, like literally in less than 8 days, the same situation. So that's one of the news stories I wanted to bring to y'all. I still have a few more stuff. So now we got to talk about good old Donald Trump, okay? So instead of him trying to bring back benefits, people are getting cut off Medicaid, food stamps, things that people need. Gas is super expensive. Housing is hard. Just to get an apartment in a decent neighborhood, you need like $5,000 to move in. First month's rent, last month's rent, and a deposit. All of these things are getting outrageous. So food prices are getting outrageous. And instead of him and his administration focusing on that, they're focusing on more pressing issues like naming Lake Ontario, Lake America. So yesterday he announced to the world that he is changing the name of the lake that has been Ontario for like the past, 100 years or something. He's deciding to name it Lake America. So a lot of people are not happy about this. A lot of people are like, this is just a waste. Like, what are we doing? So we're going to go ahead and watch this clip really quick here as well. So here he goes, child. Let me, okay.
We're going to be changing the name of Lake Ontario, effective immediately, to Lake America. That's going to take place right now as I sign the order. Do you have anything to say about it, Ben?
Yes, sir. So this is a straightforward but important executive order. It directs Secretary Burgum and the Department of the Interior to update the Geographic Names Information Service to reflect that the lake once known as Lake Ontario will, from this day forward, be known as Lake America. This is a lake that has most of its volume in the United States. The deepest parts of the lake sit in United States territory, so this will reflect that this is an American lake.
Thank you. Okay.
This is insane.
Okay. Thank you very much. And we filed all the necessary papers, documents, everything else. We notified all of the various people that we have to notify. So we've done everything that you have to do. And this is official, effective immediately. Do you have any questions, anybody?
Mr. President,
yes.
That video you put up yesterday of you crossing out Lake Ontario and writing Lake America, it's been seen by about 30 million people, maybe more, across all the social media platforms. What message are you sending to Canada with this move today, and why was this such an important thing for you to do?
It's an interesting question. No message. As you know, Canada's been ripping us off for a long time on trade, very sadly. Even the military, we defend Canada for nothing. We don't get anything. They don't pay us to defend Canada, but we defend Canada. And they understand that. As an example, we bought icebreakers. They'd like to use them. We have 11 brand new icebreakers coming in. They'd like to use the icebreakers. They don't pay for anything. And they want to be treated like a state, but they're not a state. But they want to be treated like they're a state. And so we just can't do that anymore. We lose on average over the last 15 years, $60 billion a year carrying Canada. So we just can't do it anymore. We love the people of Canada. I don't think their representatives do an appropriate job. Maybe they'll change. I really don't know. It doesn't make much difference. But we can't let the whole Canadian thing that's been going on for decades, and it has to come to a stop. So we're going to be doing tariffs on their cars that are coming in at a substantial level, because we want to make the cars here. We don't want, if they can make their own cars if they want, and they can continue to make their cars for Canada, but we don't want them to make cars.
His obsession with Canada literally needs to be studied. Nobody's asking for this. Nobody cares. Like, his beef with Canada just does not make sense.
For the United States of America. It's very simple. Likewise, many other products. So the lake change in Lake of America was something I've been thinking about for a long time, actually. As you know, we took something called the Gulf of Mexico, we changed it, and now it's very routinely the Gulf of America. So if you think about it, we have a Gulf and we have a lake. Now all we need is an ocean. So maybe we'll have to change the name of the Atlantic and or the Pacific. Maybe we'll change them both.
I mean, the arrogance of now trying to change the ocean, you know, and we wonder why we have the reputation that we have because of him. Now you want to change the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean to the American Ocean or, you know, Ocean of America. It's just, it's insane. And again, yeah, like somebody says, imagine if this was Obama just doing all this unnecessary nonsense. It just does not make any sense. So a lot of people are weighing in on that. I'm going to go ahead and play some of the clips of what people think about him changing the name to Lake Ontario. The news was interviewing some people.
The village of Wilson, right on the shores of the newly renamed Lake America. President Donald Trump signed an executive order directing the federal government to rename Lake Ontario Lake America. And I'm speaking with people in the community to get their reaction on the name change.
For generations, Western New Yorkers have known this body of water as Lake Ontario. The executive order signed by President Donald Trump on Thursday has sparked different reactions from viewers on our Facebook page. So I went out to the village of Wilson to hear from Western New Yorkers who live near the shore or frequently visit this great lake.
I don't think it changes much.
Village of Wilson resident Michael Moyer spoke with me while he was on an ice cream run with his young boys at Brownies, which is less than a mile away from the shore.
You can do what you want with it. People are still going to call it Lake Ontario. People are still going to call it, or people are going to call it Lake America.
He says he'll stick with calling it Lake Ontario like he has his whole life.
It's a great area. You have a lot of Canadians here. We all have wonderful respect for each other. They filled the establishments here. I don't think that it changes anything. Obviously, that's just my opinion, but I don't think it's to be taken that serious.
That's been the consensus during my trip to the shore.
Definitely interesting. I don't think it's going to change much. I think people are still going to call it Lake Ontario, though.
Does the name change mean anything to you?
No, not too much.
Would you call it Lake America?
Probably not. I'll probably still call it Lake Ontario.
Doesn't really bother me at all. You know, they can name it what they want, but it's always going to be Lake Ontario to us. You know, any of us that grew up around this area, it will always be Lake Ontario.
Bevin Calhoun, 7 News, Village of Wilson.
So as you see, most people don't care. They're not going to call it Lake of America. They're not going to do any of that nonsense that he's wanting. So it's just a waste of time. Like somebody said in the chat, this is nothing but a distraction. It's a distraction from this war that we're losing. It's a distraction from the things that we need to be focused on. You know, it does not make sense, the stuff that he's engaging in, as opposed to helping the American people. So now I want to go ahead and talk about what is going on with a lot of these power outages. I know we've mainly been talking about Gary, Indiana, Memphis as well, but I'm not sure if you guys know this, but over the weekend it was Long Beach, but now other places in LA are losing power as well. And they're getting, a lot of Southern California is losing power because of the brutal heat. I mean, they've been dealing with 100 degrees, 104 degree plus weather. And so that is having an effect on the grid. It's having an effect on the infrastructure. So everywhere from Echo Park to Koreatown, many places in LA, even in the Valley, have lost electricity. So a lot of people are talking about that. And also Washington County, St. George area in in Utah, in southern Utah, they've lost power as well. So more and more places are losing power. Memphis is still struggling to get their power back up. So again, this is just happening more and more frequently. So let me go ahead and play what's going on in Utah here.
George, after a massive power outage, but some southern Utah communities are still in the dark. The electricity went out in Washington County early this evening, and while most seem to have it back now, thousands are still without power.
Yeah, and officials in their communities are implementing rolling blackouts until further notice here. This special's Garna Mejia has been tracking this countywide power outage. And Garna, how many people were impacted?
Yeah, you guys, we're looking at pretty much the entire county. That means at least 150,000 residents who were without power this evening. Now, officials tells us that this all stems with a transmission issue that started with Rocky Mountain Power. Now, according to Dixie Power, all of the local entities are working together to restore power to the critical load first, and then they're implementing that rolling outage system, which means they'll take turns supplying power to different parts of the county for what could be 30 minutes at a time until the issue is resolved.
And let a home cool, let an area of town cool off, and then shift to another area of town. All of us within our individual systems will be working through that.
We're here in southern Utah, and there's a countywide blackout. We've had several people come in like, "Are you still making stuff?" We're not, because there's no power to do anything at the moment.
Well, and as you heard, hotels, businesses forced to shut down or limit their services. St. George City officials say that this started just after 5 p.m. And we are just getting an update from Rocky Mountain Power. They're now saying that they won't be doing that rolling outage system for their customers. Instead, they'll be restoring power in stages, circuit by circuit, which means they won't turn it off once it comes back on. Hurricane City also just this coming into the newsroom saying that all of the power in their city is now fully restored. You can turn on your air conditioners. Now, it's unclear exactly where we are with these rolling out stages, but officials do say they hope to get everyone back up and running here in the next few hours for sure by morning. Rocky Mountain Power tells us that it could take days, maybe even a week, before they can confirm the official cause of this outage. I'll send it back to you.
How quickly?
All right, so you guys just seen that. Let me go ahead and play this other clip here. So this is just some more info on what is going on in Utah with their power.
This is where the major issue still remains tonight. Their map's still saying over 30,000 people out at this point, and they are telling us as for repairs, they are coordinating with rolling power outages. Now, some areas will get power back temporarily, then it's going to go out again. Moments ago, they just reported that they will only have enough power for 25% of their normal load of power. Customers should expect power for 1 hour at a time every 4 hours. So for an hour, then they'll lose it for the remaining 3. More generators are coming online to restore power generation. Critical facilities are being prioritized for power at this time. But
so you guys see that they're prioritizing hospitals and, AI data centers. But if you don't know what it is to have a rolling blackout, there are going to be some TikTokers here who are going to explain that, where literally you might have power for an hour and then you won't have it for the next few hours. So it is getting really bad, and a lot of people are having to deal with this now as their reality, because this is happening more and more in different cities and states. Let me pull this up here real quick.
If you are in Santa Clara, don't get excited. If you haven't checked the email, we will have power for about an hour. Every 4 hours, they'll just be switching off different parts of the city. So it is now our turn for an hour. Don't get used to it. If you are in Santa Clara.
I couldn't imagine only having an hour worth of power. So you have to decide when to cook, how much you can cook, how fast you can cook. Work, emails, we take it for granted that we just have lights, that we just go and flick on some lights and they're there. And this may not be a reality in the near future.
So we're tracking a major power emergencies unfolding across Washington County, Utah, including the St. George area. A widespread transmission failure has knocked out electricity across much of the county, impacting tens of thousands of customers. Dixie Power says a significant asset within the Pacific Corp transmission system has failed. That's impacting multiple electric utilities across the region.
I want y'all to keep that word in mind. The transmission failure is what's triggering this particular outage. In certain states it's heat, in other states it's water and tornadoes and things like that. But this was a transmission failure. okay? Which I find very, very interesting.
You've got to be kidding me. I'm not running with some Taco Bell in this power outage.
So people are mad that Taco Bell's closed. What do you want them to cook the beef with? Do you want them to cook the beef on a roasted, on an open flame and just roast it back and forth like in the cartoons? Like, child.
So I got some local news for you guys here in LA. This is what they're telling us right now. We've been on this power outage thing, kind of been following it for the last week, how it's gone to Gary, Indiana, all these other places. So this is what they're telling us here today. Extreme heat, power outages, leaving LA residents scrambling to stay cool. Thousands of LA residents were left without power as temperatures climbed around 100 degrees, forcing some people to seek relief in their cars, and businesses had temporarily closed. So they just posted this like 22 minutes ago. I don't know if this was yesterday power was going out or today it's already gone out. I'm not currently in LA. I'm south. So if you're in LA, let me know. Again, it's been...
So we live in southern Utah. We've been without power for over 4 hours now. Went out at 5:15. Most places in southern Utah have gotten power back at least once. We have not out here where Dixie Power is. So we're just sitting in the dark, milking our phone batteries. We've got, thankfully, a fully charged solar-powered portable charger. So once the sun comes back up, we can charge that bad boy again. But
remember, I've been telling y'all to stick to solar-powered things because, in the event the electrical outlets are not working, you'll want to be able to repower things with solar power. So solar-powered battery packs and stuff like that are really good. So thank goodness for her, she has one.
I sound like a little kid. I'm like, you're gonna make us walk to the store?
Yeah. St. George, Utah. When we run out of power in southern Utah, it is a little bit of a reminder of how blessed we are as a people. I think back a lot. The founders of this nation, they didn't even have power. And when they did have power, occasionally, they were super excited and super grateful. And when we don't have power, we're frustrated. And I've been seeing it in the comments. I've been seeing a lot of you guys have been asking me, hey, do you have power in Cedar City? When is power going to be on? I'm trying to charge my phone. Some people are complaining, some people are not complaining, but it is not something that I think we should complain about. If you can't charge your phone for one day,
sir, people, you know what? Objection. He sounds like one of them kids from the Purge movie. People have every right to complain. Why? Because people pay bills. Talking about the founding fathers. What year is this? 1800s? No, if I'm paying my electric bill every month and I go to turn on my lights and they don't turn on, I do have the right to complain. Like, this is not a free utility. It's not like going outside and breathing air. People are paying for this. So people do have the right to complain and to be upset and to feel away. That doesn't mean anything's going to be done instantaneously, but that's people venting their frustrations. Because, again, power is not free. It could have been if Nikola Tesla got his way. You know what I'm saying? But I broke that down in a deep dive as to why he didn't get his way. But, yeah, people pay for this. There go the creepy music. Imagine the end of the world. St. George is blacked out. No electricity. Even in Mesquite. Traffic lights are dead. Highways are gridlocked. And that may be the future that's coming upon us. I also want to show an update on Memphis as well. So give me just a second here. Okay, we got the LA one. Okay, so this is what's going on right now in Memphis. They're on day 5.
No power for thousands of Memphians, many still sitting in the dark and in the heat with no idea when the lights and the AC will come back on. Action News 5's Imani Williams joining us live now from South Memphis. And Imani, you talk to people who are in this unfortunate situation, no power, and they're running out of patience.
Yeah, Joy. You know, I'm here in MLGW. They have restored power for thousands. I mean, you can see this process happening behind me where there are tree trimmers back here trying to get these trees off of power lines. Now, I want you to look just a few feet away. This is Miss Riley's home. Now, I talked to her today and she said she's still without power. Those trees are on lines that go directly to her home. She said the past 5 days have been a nightmare. Lily Riley Taylor has endured a lot since the lights went out Saturday afternoon.
I'm sorry, I'm just wheezing. It's so hot. It's just so hot.
Her porch, this towel, and water bottle, her lifeline for the past 5 days.
Day 5. I see you're wiping your face.
Yes, I can't hardly breathe.
Riley Taylor is one of more than 140,000 Memphis Light gas and water customers who lost power Saturday during the storm. That number has gone down to fewer than 15,000, but she's still waiting for her power to be restored. It's a scary reality for her, especially after she was told it may not happen until next week.
Terrible. Nightmare. Being in the house by myself, scared.
She's called lists of resources to get help with food and water, but many require transportation, something she doesn't have.
Have to actually come here physically to get the food.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it. I don't have a car or anything. I'm disabled. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
Riley Taylor says between the lack of power, the heat, and the financial strain, she's relying on her faith.
Oh, just praying, just call around the different agencies to see can I get some help, hoping and praying that somebody will help me.
Yeah, this is really sad. I mean, it's a lot of people right now across the nation that are really suffering from a lack of power, There's still people right now in Gary, Indiana that don't have power. Like I said, Memphis is on day 5. Utah's on day 2. Well, they kind of got power, but they only get it for an hour at a time. Parts of LA are going on day 3 without power. So it's really sad. And a lot of people don't understand how many things that we take for granted that use power. When you're talking about there's no power, you're talking about your refrigerator, your freezer. So that means your food is going to spoil, after about 48 hours, maybe 72 if you're lucky. Your ability to cook. If you don't have a portable stove or anything like that, I definitely recommend to get one of those, the kinds with the plug-ins, and you can plug it into a power bank, so at least you're still able to cook and heat up stuff. But if you don't have that, you're not able to cook. And you're talking about people who are stuck in these situations for upwards of a week, 2-3 weeks, It becomes an emergency and don't have no type of medical issue. What if you need oxygen? What if you have to be on a nebulizer and things like that, and you have nothing to plug it into? So this is very serious for a lot of people. And their power outages came about because of a storm that hit Memphis. They had a really bad storm and it knocked out the power. Now they're struggling to get it back up. And, they've restored power to half of it, but 15,000 people, that is still a lot of people without power. And I think because of all of the stuff that's going on, a butane stove is also good as well. What's those things called? Those little flame cans that you use, like when you do buffets. Like I do like a lot of buffet style meals here, like when I have family and stuff over, the little butane lights. You can also use those buffet things to kind of cook and heat stuff into, and you can use them as candles as well because they stay lit for upwards of 6 hours. So it's good to have those on the back end. But yeah, it's really scary to just think about. So now what's going on because of all of this stuff with the power outages and things like that, the White House made an announcement. This happened about 10 hours ago. So late last night it happened. And basically, they are declaring the U.S. power crisis a national emergency. So when the White House is declaring something a national emergency, that's when it's very serious. Because other than that, he's declaring changing the name of lakes and all types of goofy stuff. But other people in the White House with common sense are now looking at this as a national emergency. So we're going to go ahead and watch this video here. But this just shows us there's more to come. That's why they're declaring it now an emergency.
I'm Matt Gelka in Washington, where the Trump administration is taking new steps to try and secure America's power grid. The White House is calling it a national emergency. America's aging energy grid could have to look elsewhere for upgrades after a new executive order signed by the president could prohibit foreign power equipment from being used within the United States. Energy Secretary Chris Wright has been talking about making the grid a priority for months, especially when it comes to powering artificial intelligence and data centers.
What's the most important source of energy for AI? Electricity. So we have to fix this just bureaucratic and complex electricity grid so that it can grow fast. It can grow like our primary.
Listen to how sick that is. We've been talking about the grid going down for probably the past 5-6 years on either one of my channels, right? This man has only started taking the situation about the grid seriously a few months ago, but not because people have lost power because of storms and heat waves and things that they can't control. No, because AI needs electricity. They're more concerned about AI in the data centers than they are about people who need it for cooking and, AC and just the comforts of life that we've all become accustomed to. So that is really frightening, that's what they're really on. Another thing that's going on with this whole statement, I'll finish playing it, but part of this national emergency that they're talking about, I'm sorry, my alarm. I gotta go pick up my meds. So part of this whole national emergency that they're talking about with this, he's also declaring that because they're saying that this is becoming a security concern, right? And why they're saying that is because, again, we outsource everything. We don't make anything here in America. And a lot of our transformers and things that we need to keep the grids up, guess what? They're made over in China. Okay, just like our medications. A lot of medicine right now, if you're on medications, are back ordered. It's taking a lot longer to get our medications. You have to literally call a week in advance and try and put in it almost feels like I'm putting in a bid just to get my medicines. Like, can you please put in a bid and make sure that this gets here? So it's getting really frightening because a lot of our stuff is made overseas. And at the same time, we're sitting here trying to put sanctions on people. We're saying if you fool with Iran, we're going to put sanctions on you. Well, is that really going to make China want to help us if our transformer goes down? And those transformers take years to build. It's not like they're just on the back end. So it's the whole thing is a shame. Hold on. Why did she just say? Inquiring minds, do you want to be here or do you want to get kicked out the room? Because, bitch, if you would let me finish explaining, you would hear what else I have to say. So don't come in here starting no mess because you will be booted. So anyhow, so that's another part of the national emergency declaration is that they don't want equipment coming from overseas, from like China and things like that, because they're looking at it as a vulnerability that they could quote unquote hack into our systems. But to me, they're more worried about that than the fact that people need the grid to be up and running for people to have electricity, for people to, heat their homes, cool their homes and things like that. They're more worried about the vulnerabilities of the power system and AI not getting electricity than they are about the people. So I'm going to go ahead and finish playing the video. So why they try to jump start and tell me what the fuck I was going to say, you got checked real quick. Let me finish talking and then you can talk. So we're going to go ahead and finish this video here.
Energy production, and it can keep up with AI. If we don't do that, we're going to slow down AI.
The executive order would give the Energy Department the ability to block transactions involving foreign equipment from adversarial countries. It also looks at existing equipment for security threats where a foreign actor could theoretically use malware to attack the grid. The order doesn't specifically name China, but the Asian superpower is a global leader in manufacturing power equipment.
That is a long overdue action, and actually this administration, as well as the previous one, are to be commended for taking this decisive action, because for a long time, the security threat has been real.
Johns Hopkins University energy expert Yuri Dvorkin says there's a big gap between supply and demand of grid technology, and hopefully the executive order incentivizes more onshore production, especially as tech companies are prepared to pay large premiums in order to advance their data center ambitions.
At the end of the day, what we want to make sure is that we have enough electricity on the grid to support our economic activity and well-being of our people.
The Energy Department now has 120 days to turn the executive order into actual rules that will give energy companies more clarity on who they can and can't do business with. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
Now, I see some people saying that some of the transformers and pieces come from Europe as well. But again, why have we outsourced everything where we have to depend on Europe, on China, and on other countries? Because they're not dependent on us for their infrastructure and for their grid. And I think that's the problem, is that we've outsourced so much stuff that now it's coming back to kick us in the ass. Are y'all saying y'all can't hear me? Because some people are saying that they can't hear. Can everybody hear me? If you can't hear, you may need to refresh your screen. Because everybody else is saying they can hear just fine. So it sounds to me, like I said, they're really talking about this in an emergency fashion, more because of the data centers and the AI than they are about the people who need the electricity. Now, if you guys remember back in 2023, we had watched a movie on Discord that I had talked about way back then. And it was called Grid Down, Power Up. Do y'all remember watching that when we had one of the movie nights? Now, isn't it funny that everything we talked about in 2023, fast forward to 2026, 3 years later, it looks like it's starting to come to pass in several states. Now, right now, with the grid issues, they are temporary because, things are slowly coming back up. But what happens when they're unable to come back up? So if you guys have not seen this movie, I would suggest that you guys watch it. It came out a few years ago. But I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer for you guys in case you guys forgot about this movie.
The electricity grid goes down. You're back in the 1880s, pre-electricity.
If 1,000 transformers are knocked out, we'll end up with massive social disruption.
Top former energy official claims an attack on an American power grid was terrorism.
Virtually every study you'll see has an anarchistic component that leads to rioting. It is almost inevitable.
Imagine what will happen if there is no food, no power, and no money, and no transportation. Only people with guns and the boldness to go and take what they need to survive will live.
It could literally end civilization as we know it.
Cyber attack, an EMP, even a massive solar flare. They're all capable of exposing our power grid as America's Achilles heel.
So imagine, again, this is what we call predictive programming. I believe it was Nicolas Cage Dennis Quaid. He was one of the ones who produced the movie. Like I said, we all watched this years ago. And back then, it was talking about solar flares and, the electrical grid going down, hacking, things like that. But now that we have AI, now the conversation is centering around AI and keeping up the data centers. It's insane how much the conversation has shifted towards AI, but it's still the same result if we don't have our power grids up and running.
The concern to me are people who believe it's God's will to destroy us.
Our electric power grids are as vulnerable to cyber attack as the thousands upon thousands of businesses, companies, government agencies that have already been hacked over the last few months. It's not a question of if, it's just a question of when.
We spend $800 billion on our military, and we're not willing to spend $50 to $100 billion to protect our society?
An EMP pulse is a very dangerous threat. If you're not nuclear hardened, it will shut down any digital computer that is operating in the range of the EMP.
Other countries have appointed a single champion to be in charge of protecting their electric grids.
We know what needs to be done. It's just a matter of a will to do it.
Choose power up, not grid down.
So that was a big movie a few years ago. Everybody was talking about it. And it's so crazy now that more and more places, the electricity is going down. You're seeing people starting to take prepping more and more real. I was talking to an electrician yesterday that came by the house, and I was just picking their brain. And they said that they are getting way more calls this year than they've ever gotten about people wanting outside generators. Because you can have an outside generator that's attached to your home. They're big, they're bulky. These ones are hard to steal. These are not like your local gas generators from Home Depot that somebody can just walk away with. These ones are basically cemented into the ground. And he's saying that there's been an uptick on people looking for those. The only problem is with those generators, they run anywhere from $8,000 to $20,000 a pop. They install it, but they're not cheap. But if the grid goes out, your power goes out, it will keep your whole house running on the generator. It runs via gas, I believe. I don't think it's solar powered, if I'm not mistaken. I think it runs via gas, but it keeps everything in the house running. The sub pump, toilets, refrigeration. The whole house will run for days on this outside generator. So they were saying that they've been getting a lot of calls for them, but again, like I said, those particular ones are not cheap. But they are easy. Like if you get them, they just roll over and they'll just keep your whole house running like nothing. It is worth the investment. I know one of my friends has one. It's definitely worth the investment, but they are several $1,000s. Yeah, the cheapest I've heard is $8K, and I'm assuming the $8K is the minimum you can get. But if you want something to run your whole house, if you have a house full of people, you're going to want the biggest one they make, and that is anywhere from $15 to $20K, upwards of even $25 after installation. So if you can't afford that, I would still suggest getting one of those, good size backup generators, ones that run for at least 3-4 days, because the longer you can keep your food fresh and things like that, the better your survival rate, And then there's some that you can also do a cheap way by getting an inlet put into your garage and then plugging like one of the solar powered ones that cost like maybe $2,000, plugging that in. Every time you need to charge, put it out there in the sun and then plug that in. That can help run parts of your house. That's like the way to like kind of rig it. So you can do that as well for like a cheaper option. But I was really shocked when he said a lot of people are looking at the big boy option, the $8,000 to $20,000 outside power stations. And you figure you can only have those if you own your home. You wouldn't want to put $20,000, into somebody else's home that you're renting. You couldn't do it in an apartment, but you'd have to own your home. It's highly regulated. There's a lot of procedures that they have to do to make sure like everything is safe and it doesn't bring CO2 into your home and stuff like that. But they said they've been getting a lot of calls. They've been getting a lot of orders, especially out there on the West Coast because of like all the heat that's going on, the things that are happening in Utah. So it's been a lot of people asking for these, even like in a lot of the new builds, people are asking for those to be, part of the package, and they'll just pay whatever needs to be paid. So those are some things you can think about as well. Yeah, if you're a renter, you're definitely going to want something smaller. That's why I said you can always just start with those solar-powered battery packs. To get a decent one, you're going to spend a few $100s. If you want something that's going to last you a few days, that comes with the solar panels that you can recharge, you're probably going to spend minimum $500. But again, if you can buy, the latest, hairstyle and weave and shoes and video games, you know what I'm saying? I would suggest getting that, just because it seems like this is happening more and more and more. And it's really sad. And you just don't know where it's going to hit next. You don't know if it's going to be, this city, this state, it's random from what it seems, but part of me also feels like it's being done on purpose. So it's really frightening. So that is the end of the show. We've been on for an hour and 14 minutes. I try and keep the show about an hour long. Do y'all want to call in and state anything? I can take calls for like another 20, 30 minutes. So let me know if you're interested in calling in. I will post the link down below. We'll keep the lines open for about another 10 to 20 minutes here, if y'all are interested in calling. Let me read this super chat here. Tihana sent $9.99. She says, such a blessing to have you back doing these videos. Your news channel feels nostalgic. At the same time, stuff that people call conspiracy is literally happening. Girl, yes. Remember, we was crazy conspiracy theorists 10 years ago. We was doing too much. I was fear-mongering, all this shit that people said. But now we see a lot of this stuff is coming to pass. Everything isn't about fear, because, fear can just freeze you. It's not an unnecessary emotion, but you don't need to be in fear. You just need to be prepared. You need to know what to do in case something happens. Like I went through my old prepper bag. We emptied out the garage yesterday. Me and my homeboy, he helped me like redo my whole garage. We were cleaning everything out. I was trying to find all my prepper boxes, and we did. I found like my bathtub fillers where it can fill up with water, because if the power goes out, you have about 30 minutes to, if you're lucky, an hour to fill up your water. So I have these huge water tub beds where you can hook it up to the faucet, fill up the water, and let that sit in your bathtub, and it will last about 4 to 5 days. So at least you'll have drinking water before, everything shuts off. So I was able to find those. So I was searching for them for like a while. Let me go ahead and bring on DV. Looks like he's calling in. So give me just a second here, y'all. Let me add you to the stage here. Hey, DV.
Hey T, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. It's Steve from Discord. So,
All right. So what do you
yeah.
think
So
about the show?
look, show's been good, but all I gotta say is like people need to start taking this power outage seriously. Like I don't know if y'all remember, but I'm in Dallas, and in Texas we had that huge power outage when it got real cold and a lot of snow, because Texas isn't built for it. But just the
And
I think
you guys are on a different power grid. Y'all are not on the same as the rest of the US.
Exactly. We're not on the same as the US, and then within Texas in itself, it's also fractured. So it's just, and I think it's primarily just because it's privatized and for profit, if you will. But I don't think people really understand the significance of this stuff until you actually go through it. Like so much stuff that we actually depend on for power, like it is actually like really really insane, and just people start acting crazy, food goes bad, and then even when the power came back up, right, there was still such a delay before we got supplies, before truckers were able to come out because the roads were still icy, before we were able to get stock from other sides of the country. Like it is absolutely insane. So all that to say, really just co-signing that, get your generators, a cheaper one, a more expensive one if you can afford it, because like this stuff that you just went over is actually insane, and really scary to think about.
Yeah, and you had to live through it,
Right.
So it's like people don't understand, like once your power goes out, everything shuts down, you know? And so it's like, and I remember people in the Discord who were in Houston when they went through that, and that power was out for like a week. And people were like being really honest, like, they couldn't bathe, they couldn't do all types of stuff. So yeah, you definitely want to be prepared for sure.
Right. But that's all I wanted to say
Okay.
to you. Appreciate you.
Thank you for calling in. All right, let me go ahead and bring on
Share
Noah.
power. Oh, hi. Sorry.
Hello.
I just I'm listening to the live stream and I just realized I'm on here. So the power outages. I live in Ohio right now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay. So the power outages in Ohio right now, they've been pretty bad, I would say, in like the Columbus area because we have like on the east side, a lot of flooding recently and tornadoes coming just in the Ohio in general. And a couple of years ago, I'm trying to listen also like on this side too. Um, how do I turn on your mic on this side?
No,
Okay.
just keep talking while
Anyways,
I'm
so
turning it.
the flooding on this side, it's just been really bad, and the tornadoes, we've been having like couple years ago, there was one that was really bad on like a trailer park in the north part of Ohio. And when it happened, there was like a relative of like a family friend of ours that passed away from that. And all that to say is we've been having a lot of like data centers too, conveniently on the east side of Columbus recently. If you don't know, the New Albany area, Les Wexner, Epstein, all that stuff. They're kind of like building all the data centers in the New Albany area. So I feel like because we've been having a lot of those issues, and that's been like kind of a big thing during our government race. It's just been like convenient that this has been been going on while the race has been going on. And oh my goodness, my alarm is going off.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, that's just
So
been kind of
were
the big
you
thing is the data centers and the government race for me.
Okay, so are you currently without
Sorry,
power?
I like can't really hear on this
Oh, you
side.
can't hear what I'm saying. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for calling in, Noah. All right. So let me go ahead and bring on CJ.
See,
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. I'm such a fan of you. I find you doing the George Floyd uh thing that was going on.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yes. I wanted to say that I'm always like a paranoid person about things like that being prepared. And ever since I was little, I always make sure I'm like have extra thing packed somewhere for me to whenever thing happen. And I'm 32 and I'm with my mother. She's older, so I always tell her when you go to the store, find things in the bag that have like the date of expire that like 2 months later or 3 months later, just so you can have them ready. And always pack on waters and things like that. Doesn't matter if you need them or not, just pack on water. And now I live in Tennessee. We had the storm that happened last year where I live in an apartment. Everybody was out of power and the management was like, oh, you cannot have this and that in there. You just have to wait for the governor and things like that to help out.
What?
Yeah.
What were they saying that you couldn't have? You couldn't have like a backup, like I know not to have a gas generator in an apartment, but y'all couldn't have battery backups either.
Yeah, because I don't know. I guess I think they start saying that later, like 2 months later on, because I guess one of the tenants had left it on, something happened. They didn't really want to say what was going on, but it was like nothing with that you can live in apartment when you go to work or do something, not there to watch it. So even in the backyard, it's like you cannot even do charcoal thing like to cook or anything.
So they just wanted y'all
So
to sit in the dark and starve?
that's pretty much it. That's when everybody was like going at them, like, how we have babies? Because I remember I have a
Right.
tenant that closer to me. She just had a newborn.
Mm-hmm.
So thank goodness for us. We always keep our house hot, especially my room. So
Okay.
I was able to let her come to our house with the baby.
Okay.
But because of that, her husband is like some type of connected to the governor, and they had to reach out and get for them to get the power back on. But because of the tree, there were so many trees falling. They were not cleaning the road, and the tree was just for like 2 or 3 months by my apartment. We couldn't move because the tree branch was down, and they were taking the time to clean the road.
Wow.
Yeah. So I always say, like, when you go to the grocery store, even like can of soup, like my mom, she can't eat everything. Like especially soup that have salt in there, she can't eat it. So I always said buy a lot of veggies that you can cut and put in the freezer. And then since the winter coming, get a like a igloo where if you have a yard, put things like that, like meat or like veggies, put them in the cooler, put in your backyard during the storm so you can stay, stay cool and things like that.
Those are some good ideas. Well, thank you so much for calling in. It was very good talking to you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. All right, yeah, we got a lot of people calling in, so I'm gonna try and get everybody on. Please hit the like button if you guys have enjoyed this stream. I only see like 700 likes. Please hit the like button. Let me go ahead and bring on Abdi. Abdi, you're on the stage. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, lovely tea. It's
Hi.
actually Abdusamad.
Oh, hold on. Abasamad.
Abdusamad, exactly. Thank you.
Abasamad. Oh, okay, where are you from?
Well, I'm from the Netherlands,
Okay.
so I'm not from the USA, but I keep up with the news.
Good. You got
Yeah,
to keep it with the
thank you.
global news, for sure.
Exactly, exactly. The thing that I find interesting as well, the topics that you have discussed, about the situation between the United States and Canada. I remember what you told in one of your live streams about how United States is still what's the word again? Dependent on electricity from Canada.
Yeah, even in my state, Minnesota, we get, especially northern Minnesota, they get a good portion of the electricity from Canada, and they're threatening to shut it off.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Uh,
He keeps
yeah.
he keeps poking the bear, and we're all the ones being affected, unfortunately.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense to me, especially with the wars he's starting. And I don't know. I don't know what to say. It doesn't make sense.
So how do you
It's,
feel
it's
being that you're in the Netherlands? Like, you guys on the outside looking in. Are you guys nervous? Do you feel like this is going to be a World War III? Do you feel like, we're just doing too much, in America here towards the rest of the world, making all these enemies for no reason, really?
The thing that I can say is there's a lots of questions about the direction that Trump's going, and what he's actually doing. But at the same time, I notice as well, European Union is trying to trying to look for ways to be less dependent on United States. But at the same time, they still are dependent on the United States. So I don't know what they're going to do exactly because the Netherlands is quite far if we're talking about technology. However, they still need other people. And I'm going to mention quick what they are building now between Nigeria and Morocco as the pipeline, and that one is going eventually to Europe, like the gas pipeline.
So they are
So
building that pipeline.
yeah, yeah. I'm not sure if they started already, but it's going. It's going from Nigeria. It's connecting whole of West Africa, and from Morocco they will build the pipeline to connect with the other pipes in Europe. So they will be less dependent on the gas that they're shipping in right now from the United States,
Yeah.
and so they can open new markets.
Yeah, that's what it seems like everybody's doing right now. They feel
Hmm.
like America has just, basically screwed the whole world with this war with Iran, right? Like everybody's being affected in every part of the world. And so now people are trying to find alternatives. People who were probably once enemies are now having to find commonalities,
Yeah.
because their people are desperate. They need oil, they need gas, and things like that. So, yeah, it does seem like Europe is trying to become less dependent and attached to America. I can definitely see that. I just hope with them building the pipeline and once again siphoning resources from Africa, I hope that Nigeria definitely sees some of that money and it just doesn't go to the corrupt leaders. I hope that money actually trickles down to the people, and same with the people in Morocco as well. Because it seems
Yeah,
like a lot
yeah.
of times when these deals are made, it's the governments that get rich and then the peoples are just left, to just not have anything.
Exactly. And Nigeria has so much potential,
Yeah,
especially Nigeria.
yeah,
Yeah,
it does, but it's all about greed and corruption, unfortunately.
unfortunately.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. It was good talking to you. I always love getting calls from people overseas.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm glad you're back again. And many blessings to you.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, you too. Bye bye.
Bye. All right, let me go ahead and bring on Lady Tia's t-shirts. You're on stage.
Hey, lovely T. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. My stomach sunk when he said that it's electricity coming from Canada, and Trump is causing all this havoc. Like, why would they want to help the American people or help people in general when he's slapping them in the face? It is just heartbreaking, and I'm not even in that north area, but it just is very scary.
Where are you calling
So
from?
I'm calling from Florida.
Okay.
So we have a hurricane season coming up. So we do prepare for hurricanes. I was just thinking when you was talking earlier on your other video about the lack of engineers. I'm thinking about the states that already have power outage. I'm wondering if other people are being brought in from different states to help them out with those
Yeah.
transmitters, help with the trees and things like that, and
Yeah, they
how that's going
usually
to look for
do.
the
Yeah, they
yeah, how that looks
anytime
for the
there's
rest of us. I'm
um
sorry.
no, you're good. Anytime there's any type of emergency situations, hurricanes, floods, things like that, the unions will usually get together and send linemen, journeymen, contractors from several different states to come and help out, especially when situations get really dire, like they were getting in
Hmm.
Gary, Indiana. I know they sent linemen even from like Chicago, Minnesota, just in other
Hmm.
places from the Midwest to go out there and go help out. But the problem is, that we're facing now, especially as our infrastructure is getting older, we don't have enough young people to replace the elders.
Right.
A lot of those men are getting ready to retire, things like that. And for the past, 10 years, we've been pushing the influencer lifestyle on kids, telling them to be like Andrew Tate and, drive Bugattis and Lamborghinis. Well, now
Right.
most of these kids want to be influencers and not be electricians. So that's another problem too, is that there's not a whole lot of them in the wings right now.
Right. And to add on to that, with the many different states now happening at one time, how many they can't stretch these people but so far to get to these different places. And when it's happening in multiple places, there's definitely got to be a lack of engineers out here who's able to go to all these different places when they're happening all at the same time. And I also wanted to just add on to some things that you can do also if the power goes out. If you got a grill, you can cook your food on the barbecue grill, get you a little small one or a big one. It's good to have that so you can be able to cook your food when your power go out, have you some portable chargers, try to keep up with the weather when it's during that time. I understand now that this stuff is happening out of nowhere, which also gives the conspiracy of man-made because these are happening in some places that never had these issues
Yeah.
before. Like some states never had hurricanes and all of a sudden they're having them now. It's
Mm-hmm.
just it's very scary. And I want the last thing I wanted to ask you is I don't know if you have or haven't already, but when I first heard about it, I thought about you. Have you did any commentary or gonna do any commentary about the ground beef thing? Because I know you get into your bag on that.
Yeah, I did. And matter of fact, we posted the clip because we cut up the live streams. So the clip
Hmm.
is on Lovely TTV. That is posted up now about them putting
Okay.
horses, like the mystery meat
They're
that's
gonna be
coming
eating
from.
horse
Yeah,
meat.
yep, yep. So I did do that the other day.
Okay, well thank you so much. I'll check that out. Have a good day.
Okay. You too. Thanks for calling in.
Later.
All right, let me go ahead and bring on Gemini Duchess.
Hello?
Hey sis, how are you?
Yeah. I'm good. Good morning, everybody.
Good
Okay, so I
morning.
wrote down my notes so I wouldn't get distracted.
All right, we
Okay,
ready for the notes.
so the first thing, I from Boulder, Colorado, like we're known for having like every spring, Mount Evans, there's always an avalanche. and they always tell hikers like not to go up in the springtime because that's when the snow is melting and everything. So what made me upset about that BBC guy, he described it. An ice chunk loosed around the mountain, rolled down and collapsed, melting faster because of the friction with the rocks on the mountain. The mountains always have rocks, and like it's not gonna take like 2 days for a chunk of ice to melt. Like not even on the hottest day. And there's mountains in Colorado that are as low as that. I can't remember the meters, but yeah, no, that that's man-made. Because I don't know what they're talking about, but look up, like people literally die from avalanches, but it takes days, like days. It
So
doesn't
what do you
take
think
just a
happened?
second. I don't know. I think it's just man-made because how in the world is it like I don't know how I don't know. It's like a land tsunami, like the fire nados, like the it's just like that. Like I've never seen an inland like tsunami
Tsunami,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, usually they
Like
have to
it's
be near the
inland.
ocean.
It's not like an island.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's what I'm saying. CERN and what's that other one? There's an Asian one, but yeah. So back to the second thing, uh, changing the name of Lake Ontario to go Lake America, like that messes up homes. Cause in school, like when I was learning my lakes, homes, her Lake Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, Superior. You're gonna mess up homes. Now the kids got to learn something different. No, no.
I forgot that like the Great Lakes do stand for homes. That is funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
So no. But that's all I had to have. I had to have a laugh at the end because the world
Yeah.
is crazy right now.
It
But
is.
good luck to everybody. Stay blessed. Have a great day. Enjoy your day.
All right, thanks for calling in. We'll talk to you
You're
later.
welcome. Bye.
Bye. All right, Michelle.
Hey,
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, and my deepest condolences. I'll just get straight
Thank
to the
you.
point. I'm calling from India,
Okay.
and the tragedy that we're having is so unprecedented, but at the same time, I think it's just the beginning. There's a huge food and sugar crisis right now in the Indias and in Asia as well. And I think with the fertilizer, the prices are just going sky high. And if in Asia we're seeing food prices of sugar, and India is the largest producer of sugar in the world. If we are having a scarcity of sugar, things are going to get crazy. I was just talking about my to like the working class, like the people who are running food stalls in India just the other day. And it's like the price of milk has gone high, the price of fuel has gone high, the price of sugar, the price of onions. It's like the most basic commodities are just becoming unreachable for the poor. So how are the middle class expected to live in a world like this? And I think the next year, if it's going to be like this, there's going to be uprisings. There have already been a lot of protests in India because of just the way that things are getting more difficult. And I think globally, something is going to happen if this war, this unnecessary war, just doesn't end.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
And I
Especially when you
also
start.
work in
I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
I work in import and exports, and I'm seeing this also like globally. The prices of chemicals is so high right now because of this unnecessary war that people are just refusing to get into the business. Like I left the business directly. Like I don't want the aggravation and the stress of like haggling over the price of fertilizer when I know that in a week's time there's going to be a huge tariff hike, and the prices that I've negotiated, and I'm talking about millions of tons of fertilizer, are just being haggled on, and day to day the prices are just changing, and it's
Wow.
like millions and millions of dollars. And like the countries that can afford it
Mm-hmm.
are buying from Russia, they're buying from Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Even in India, we do not care about the tariffs or what's going to happen, because the needs of the people are more important. And the
Mm-hmm.
government knows now that if they mess with the people and they hike up the prices of fuel and fertilizer, therefore food,
Mm-hmm.
people are not going to give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
We're going to stand up. We're going to stand up just like the protest last month. We're going to stand up and we're going to demand, like, you guys, we voted for you, so you got to work for us. We're not going to tolerate another year of this.
No, I definitely
Anyways,
agree.
love
And
you.
yeah, I love you too. And thank you. Like, I'm humbled that you called in all the way from India. Like, thank you so much. Because I'm always interested in talking to my international tea sippers as well. And when you brought up fertilizer, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I talked about this months ago when I was telling people, like, Russia is one of the biggest fertilizer producers. And yeah, it's cute to use a little bit of fertilizer in your garden, but we're talking about huge chemical fertilizers that are used for like commercial crops. The crops that you get in your grocery store and things like that. And we're starting to see that the crops are dwindling. They're not as fresh. They're not as good as they were because of the lack of fertilizer. And so you're saying that right now the countries who can buy it, they're going around America and they're just going straight to Russia. Like they're not looking for the middleman anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes,
that's
and
the
it's
thing.
also because of
Mm-hmm.
the global warming. And the global warming is so bad that in India there has been a terrible weather right now. The rain hasn't been falling like it used to. And
Uh-huh.
this is just the beginning. They're saying next year is going to be worse. Next year is going to be a super El Nino. So the food crisis is only going to get worse next year, because now farmers are even scared to plant crops because they don't know if there's going to be proper rainfall. So,
Wow.
I love the way that you interpret economics and you have such a great understanding for it, because what you're tapping into is so real. Like on an economics like viewpoint about like imports and exports, like yes, like things are just going to get worse next year. And when it comes to food, like the things that we take for granted, like
Mm-hmm.
potatoes, tomatoes, like beans. And yeah, like you were talking about the food that we have to buy. I think people should start buying dried beans. Like dried beans are a savior. They don't need freezer, like they don't need
Mm-hmm.
cold storage. Yeah. Well, that's all I wanted to say. Like, guys, buy beans. Beans are the best.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It was very good talking to
Yeah.
you. Enjoy your
Yeah.
day.
Take care, everyone. Yes.
Thanks. Yeah, Michelle came through with a lot of, just a lot of a big wealth of knowledge, and I really appreciate that. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, everything that we're going through, like I always tell you, sound corny and cliche, but we are all one big circle of life. What affects one community way across the ocean eventually affects us, and vice versa. So right now, like I said, a lot of countries are going through it, and she was saying they're going through it in India. The price of sugar is going up, and they're one of the biggest sugar producers. So what does that mean for America? When we go to the store and we start getting sugar, the price is going to go up for us, especially with these goofy tariffs. So it's insane what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and take one more call here. Dina Larry D, go ahead and mute your mic.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
I am good. Oh my gosh, been a tea sipper for a long time. My sister, she's the original tea sipper and she brought me on. So over the years been coming more active in the chat and everything.
Well, I'm glad to have you. Thank you for calling in. Where are you calling from?
Houston, Texas.
Okay, so what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Houston has just been very, very hot. I know that they have been saying that we are supposed to get some rain, and we've been, preparing for the hurricanes and things like that. But it's been so hot that a lot of people have been trying to save their AC units because, for example, my family, we have like an older AC unit, and we try not to run it during the day because that's usually like the prime heat time. So we usually turn it off then. And then when it gets darker and more cooler at night, we turn it back on. So, it doesn't go out and mess with what the house has going on. But
Right.
yeah, Houston's just been very hot. A lot of people I've been seeing have been preparing because one thing about hurricane season and, just anything, any state of emergency, they quickly rush to the stores. Like the HEBs will be flooded. People are always overbuying everything, which I understand it's good to get prepared, but my family and I have just been trying to prepare as much as we can and trying to get a game plan because I've been abandoned the whole idea of I hope this doesn't affect us because I think I was either a freshman or a sophomore when Hurricane Harvey had hit us back then, and it
In
was just
2017.
horrible.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was just horrible. So even with, COVID, I've been in that idea of just like, I hope it doesn't, mess with us because that was the rest of my high school years. I was a junior at that time. And yeah, that's how I ended off my high school years is just being in COVID. But I did have like 2 points I wanted to say. Since I am like a little Greek mythology nerd, I know a lot of people will say Gaia, Mother Earth is, doing this, but I don't think she's alone. I think it's a lot of the primordial gods like Nyx. She's the goddess of darkness, and that's why the electricity has been, just really bad and going out. And
Huh.
also Pontus, he's the god of the sea. And that's why we've been getting a lot of floods and things like that. And just a final note I wanted to say was I think it's just really sad that Trump has been, not taking these things serious. Obviously there's people in need nationally, and the things that he can think about is very unserious, unnecessary things like the, Lake of America and the Gulf of America. It's just so stupid, and people need help. We need the government to take it serious, but they've shown that they won't. So people are taking things into their own hands. It also sucks that people are so focused on AI that that's what they want to invest everything in. They said forget about the people, just everything needs to go to AI. So yeah, that's all I had to say. Happy Friday, everybody. I hope everybody's been staying safe and so glad to have you back. I always praying for you, always making sure that you stay blessed up.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you calling in as well. And you definitely have a blessed day and a happy Friday as well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. So we had a lot of really good calls. Let me come back to the other screen here. I thank each and every one of you guys for calling in and just sharing, y'all stories and what's going on in your neck of the woods. So I hope you guys enjoyed this radio show where we just kind of talked about everything going on. And the main thing, if I can't stress anything else out to everybody, is to just, really prepare. Like our friend in India just said, get beans. Those are some of the best things. They're easy to cook, easy to store. Get rice, things like that you can just store away for a while and still be able to eat. Because the way things are going, it just seems like we're about to be going into another very cold winter. Like I feel like it's Game of Thrones all over again. You ready for the winter time, and it seems like it's going to be a lot of stuff going on, especially with these tariffs and just everything going on with this war and stuff. So all we can do is prepare and stay prayed up. I'm going to read this last super chat here, and I'm going to go get ready to log off. So let me go ahead and shout out Mabel Penis for Pinions or Pines. Mabel Pine, excuse me, for real. Saying $5 says we've made a lot of enemies around the world. All it takes is for a few to team up and hack us, and sadly, we've been conditioned to hate each other. Yeah, and I think that's what they're really worried about is, Iran and Russia and China and, all these countries supposedly coming and hacking us. But again, I also got to give, another little country the side eye because they like to instigate stuff. Anytime we want to just have peace and come to some type of negotiation, that other country, the side chick is there to just keep up, mess. So that's the thing where I have to like kind of question stuff, that if we do get hacked, is it really Iran? Is it really China? Before I could be like, yeah, it was them. But now I can't even believe that because unfortunately we live in a day and age where there's a lot of self-sabotaging going on. So it's going to be interesting to see. It definitely is. But I want to thank everybody who came to the show today. I know it's early, 9 o'clock, but I appreciate y'all being here. So everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Happy Friday.